Hey guys, welcome to Mysteries at the Coffee Shop.
I'm Chalena.
And I'm Courtney.
And today we are going to go over creepypasta, Slenderman, Tulpa, and the unfortunate 2014 Slenderman Stabbings. Now, as you can see, it looks a little bit different, but that's just because there's inclement weather, so we're shooting from different locations. Now, I do want to let you guys know that before we start, that this episode is, well, mostly all of our episodes are for mature audiences only. So I will be describing some things that may be disturbing to some viewers. So viewer discretion advised.
Yes.
And as for our episode releases, what we're going to do is we are going to try to release an episode every month, at least one episode a month until we graduate. And then after we graduate, we will figure out a better episode release schedule for you guys.
Yes. So we got about 5 more episodes until we're on a more consistent schedule.
Right. And on another note, I do want to let you guys know that we are working on it. It's just we're in school and doing this at the same time. So with that being said, let's get into it. So I know on our last episode at the end, I said we're going to be going over internet lores and if we possibly believe them into reality. Now, with that being said, I did do research and oh my God, is there so many internet lores. There is so many that I couldn't keep up. So we're going to go over the main OG, and we'll get to that in a second. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, obviously you have not been on the internet for very long or haven't delved into it. When I was a teenager, I definitely stayed on the internet until 3 or 4 a.m. because there's just so many interesting things, right?
And scary things.
Oh my God, wait till I tell you what all I found in regards to this topic. So apparently there's like a Rule 34. If it's in existence, there will be porn about it.
Ugh.
And I am highly disturbed. Some of y'all need Jesus. Okay.
I would have never thought of that. Like, until you told me about it, like a couple weeks ago or whenever, like, I would have never thought, like, okay, they have made, like, porn about this. That is
if
so
it's in
weird
existence,
to me.
there is more than likely porn about it. Am I disturbed? Yes.
Me
Do
too.
y'all
And I
need
didn't
Jesus?
even-
Yes.
Yes.
Anyways, internet lores and creepypastas are probably one of the biggest subcategories there is. So if you don't know what a creepypasta is, I can definitely define it for you, or rather, I could have someone on Reddit define it for you. So in my notes, I have that a creepypasta is basically a play on words. So Reddit user Skating Raccoon, yes, and his icon was a little raccoon, described and defined creepypastas as, and I quote, the original term was copypasta, and that came from copy and paste, since many short stories on the internet were copied and pasted. The stories that were being copied and pasted were generally short and pumped out quite quickly, sort of like how pasta takes a couple minutes to cook out. Creepypasta is a subgenre of copy and pasta. So I don't know if you remember, I forgot what they were called. They used to be so popular. When I was younger, you had a cell phone and there was like chainmail text that was like, if you don't share this, she's going to come out and kill you.
Yeah.
I guess it was something like that where people just copied and pasted these short little stories. And then someone took that and was like, hey, let's create our own horror stories. And this creepypasta came to be. Now, if you ask me, I always thought that creepypasta, like someone was just like, named it that.
I did
just
too.
Because.
I did too.
Yeah, I was like, why is it called creepypasta?
Yeah,
Like,
until
were y'all
now
hungry?
I didn't know.
No, I didn't know either. And like, what's crazy is like, the Skating Raccoon posted that definition only 19 days ago, so I didn't know until then. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, with creepypasta being a thing, it brings a lot of what they call fake lore into our world. So, fake lore is essentially folklore, but it's created on the internet. So, there wasn't any real. I want to say there wasn't any real cultural significance. However, I really think internet culture is a culture of its own. So why would it not be folklore? Now, the answer to that might be because we know where it comes from. We know who posted it. So we know that people like made it up. Some really good examples of creepypastas and fake lore are going to be the smiling dog. You don't know what the smiling dog is. It's a picture of a Siberian Husky that's smiling, and supposedly if you see the picture or look at it, it brings you really bad luck and bad things happen to you. Obviously fake lore, because I've looked at it about a dozen times, and I'm going to be honest, nothing has happened, and anything that has happened is specifically because I am just an unlucky person.
I haven't seen that one.
I think the infographic show has a video about it, so you probably should check that out.
Yeah.
But to me, it doesn't look any different than a regular obnoxious Siberian Husky.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another one is Jeff the Killer. You also have Ted the Cave Explorer, which that one's really interesting as well. Might delve into that into the future. And then the SCPs, which are these weird anomalies that supposedly a whole organization take care of it that we don't know about, kind of like Secret Service kind of stuff. So yeah, the SCPs, that was kind of on the internet for a long time. The most recent one I've heard of is Siren Head. Yeah. And that one, it's pretty popular, but I don't think people look at Siren Head as like, yeah, he's real, he's going to come get me, you know?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about Siren Head, though, is that Corpse. And
yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah,
Corpse and Sir Spooks did a song, and I love it so much. It's like on repeat.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of. Corpse has a song about that.
Yeah, and I was actually really surprised that like Sir Spooks was in it, because I was like, damn, that actually sounds really good and clean. Like, I like that, but I don't watch his videos because I feel like his voice isn't a voice that I could pleasantly fall asleep to. However, like, he should definitely keep making music because that shit was fire. Like, on repeat, my husband's like, why don't you guys stop listening to that song? Never. Never. With that being said, creepypastas, fake lore, and everything, one of the most popular ones, I call him the OG, is going to be Slenderman. So, who is Slenderman, and what does he do? Well, let me ask you this. What do you know about Slenderman?
I remember being really scared of him when I was younger because I always had the older cousin who like told me about Bloody Mary and Slenderman, and just like, you know, you seen like once you got on the internet as a teen, you seen like these pictures circulating of the tall dark figure, and then like the Slenderman murders happened, or the stabbings happened, and I didn't learn about those until the past probably 6 months is when I first heard about those. So that's about all that I know about him, is being scared, seeing like the pictures circulate. I never was brave enough to dive into them. I was definitely scared.
So Slenderman, if you don't know him, is a fictional character made on the internet. So he is this very tall figure. His skin is white. He has no facial features at all. He is wearing a pretty regular black suit, tie, but his arms and legs are unnaturally long. And then he also has these tentacles. He has tentacles, and they're like shadowy tentacles. I have like PTSD from my internet searches from that one.
Yeah, this is nightmare fuel. I don't know how you slept after this.
I was so uncomfortable. I was like, yo, I can't. Anyways, so basically a really tall, scary looking figure. He originated from a photo contest. So the forums, Something Awful forums, were holding a Photoshop contest, like a spooky Photoshop contest, and Slenderman was one of the ones that was submitted. He was created by Eric Knudsen, also known as Victor Surge, on Something Awful forums in 2009. And basically what he did was he photoshopped Slenderman in the background of pictures of a group of children. And supposedly the lore from that was every single one of those children in that picture where Slenderman was hiding in the background disappeared. Right, so it got super, super popular at around, I want to say around 2012, but since 2009, since people saw the pictures from that Photoshop contest, people would write creepypastas about him and share them throughout the internet, which honestly, like, yeah, he was a pretty good creepypasta. Like, some of those stories are pretty A1, you know?
I wonder what it feels like to have, like, birthed Slenderman. Like, in 2009, you just did this for, like, a Photoshop contest, and now, like, it's 2022, and people are still talking about Slenderman.
Oh, I really think Slenderman, he's definitely going to stay in pop culture for a long time. I mean, Slenderman, like, I want to say he really became big with the rise of video game commentating.
Mm-hmm.
So, in 2012, video game commentating became really popular. I remember I was in my sophomore year, and I mean, it was kind of popular before that. But in 2012, around that time was when Slenderman: The Arrival came out. There's two Slenderman games. There's like Slenderman and the 8 Pages, and then Slenderman Arrival. And I would sit there and watch people just play that game because it was really funny. Don't get me wrong. Like, I definitely watched PewDiePie play it. I watched Cryotic play it. I watched Markiplier play it. Which is funny because I was recently watching him play Choo Choo Charles. It sounds so stupid when I say it out loud. I was watching him play Choo Choo Charles, and there was a Slenderman reference in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, where you had to go into the forest and find the 8 pages in the forest. And once he got closer to you, you could hear the static. And that's how you knew. And that's how you knew in the games that he was close to you. Is like you walked around, you started hearing static. You're like, oh shit, we gotta go.
Yeah.
And then he was close to you. And the louder the static got, the closer he was to you.
Yeah, I always growing up, like, playing Minecraft, I was always scared of the Endermen because I always, like, you know, it always correlated with. Yeah.
No, the Enderman came from Slenderman.
Mm-hmm.
So with the rise of video game commentating, I was about to say population. I was like, what even is that? The rise of video game commentating came Slenderman, like, at full force. And then not to mention there's also the Marble Hornets. Now, I think I remember watching a few videos back in the day about Marble Hornets, but it's basically a YouTube web series. Yeah. They described it as a YouTube web series that's kind of almost like a video game. So it was really, like, I'm not going to lie, I remember watching it. It was super trippy. I didn't understand what was happening. But Marble Hornets took Slenderman, gave him a creepier vibe, and basically kind of made a story about it. And he had all these symbols and everything, which is why when you play the indie game Slenderman in the 8 pages, those symbols are on the 8 pages that you go in the woods and search for. So you'll pick up a page and there'll be like a face with the eyes crossed out. And it's like, he sees you, always watching. Like, it's just, you know, it's just a fun, creepy stuff. Some people don't think it's fun, but I think it's fun.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, so what's crazy about Slenderman is that so many people have written stories about him that we don't actually have like any actual written behaviors or motives for him. So that changes with whoever is writing the story. Some say that he catches the children with his long arms, grabs them, takes them into the woods. Some say that he stalks people, and then other people say that he does have the ability to not communicate through. He doesn't really communicate through the static, but he has the ability to interfere with technology, which is why in the game, like, you hear the static and the white noise. And I also remember them saying that, you know, you will, in real life, if he comes after you, you will start to hear static, you will start to go crazy. And this is known as something as the Slenderman sickness. So the Slenderman sickness supposedly gives you paranoia, nightmares, delusions, and nosebleeds. Homeboy also teleports, which was also in the game, which is also why it was so scary.
Yes.
But personally, I thought he was just like really fun game character. But with the rise in popularity came the possibility that he could come alive. And I know you're wondering, like, how does that happen? How does something that we made up as a story come alive? So I took a deeper delve, and then we get into the topic of Tulpa. And Tulpa is a belief in Tibetan mythicism, basically saying that it's an being or object that is created in the imagination by visualization techniques. And it's almost like, I want to say it's almost like the older form of manifestation. So you know how there's a whole thing on TikTok where people are like, manifest and it'll come into your life. So if I sat here and said, you know, I'm worried about not getting this job, but if I sat here and said, I will get this job, it's going to happen, and I thoroughly believe in it, and then it does happen, that's manifestation. So it's almost along the lines of that, but I want to say Tulpa is a little bit more in depth than that. So it uses concepts of meditation, and it could be that the monks used it for traveling outside of their body. So they basically were meditating, manifesting, and using that to imagine up this ethereal body for them to travel around the world while they're meditating. Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and that's the idea of it, where it originally came from. Now, one of my favorite quotes that like kind of connects with this, that really like gets to me is like, if you can see it in your mind's eye, then you can make it a reality. So if you can visualize it, it can come true, and that can be the same thing for Tulpa. Now, I did get into the topic of Tulpamancy. So I did that thing where I was like, I clicked a link and there was a link in that link, and like, I kept going forward.
Yep.
So Tulpamancy is interesting. So people who refer to themselves as Tulpamancers, they create these characters that live with them and help them navigate throughout their life. It's almost like having an imaginary friend. However, there is a chance that these tulpas can become, I guess, sentient and do their own thing, rather than like, you don't have control. I'm sorry?
I've never heard of it.
You never heard of it? Yeah, it's a little wild. So, fun fact, WikiHow actually has steps into making a tulpa, if you are interested, and I will go over the steps. So, to create a tulpa, you have to think long and hard. Tulpas, they're lifelong companions. So not thinking about them or like just not having them in your life anymore. If you cut them off, that's essentially like killing them, and it's almost like killing a real person. So they said one of the things to do was imagine this as you're making a character, and this character is walking by your side for the rest of your life. Now, it's said to plan out your tulpa, but not to go too in depth with it, because nothing's permanent. Once they become sentient, they can change anything they want about themselves. And you do have to plan your tulpa's appearance, but the one thing you have to be careful of is if you base them off of real people, living or dead, you have to explain to them that, like, hey, you are not this person. So they just said to not do that at all. If you base them off a character or an actor, tell them, like, you are not that person, you are your own person. And then it goes into depth of making their personality, and even to the point of imagining their movements, imagining the way they smell, imagining all of this stuff, which is crazy. And then you have a tulpa, which is like an imaginary, it's almost like an imaginary friend, but like way more real. So with that being said, do you think that they can be used for a darker purpose?
I would say so. I don't know if this is controversial to say, but I feel like once you hit a certain point in making the tulpa, you could go into almost a paranoia, I guess, of like, you know, like, this is real. And if like you have that paranoia about the tulpa, then like, what if they provoke you to do eviler things, or like they aren't good but you are, and then you have like that conflicting, like, you know, personality. It could definitely be used for a darker purpose, I see, you know.
You think so? Okay. And then a couple things I do want to mention is that, you know, it wasn't necessarily put into the research pages that I looked at, but I remember this from an episode of Supernatural where Dean and Sam, you know, they go investigate this haunted barn, but they're kind of confused because nothing happened there. But they did find a rune that was a tulpa rune. It was the fact that, like, that character was created on the internet, but so many people believed in it that it came to life. Do you think that is possible, that because so many people believed in Slenderman that he became a reality?
I think I would definitely have to do some more thinking about it, but right now my stance on it is probably that I don't think that he can, like, Slenderman, for example, I don't think he can become like a physical object like this cup, but I think he can become so real to certain people that they think he is real. Like, to them, he is real. But I don't think he can become a physical being unless someone believes that they are Slenderman or that he is real and they're doing things for him. Like, to some people, he definitely is real. But I don't think he's real in the way that he's a inanimate or a real object or person or being.
Right. And then I guess my other question is, do you think that people purposely brought him into existence, or do you think it was on accident just because he became so popular? I mean, there have been hundreds of reports of people actually getting Slenderman sickness in real life. But how is that possible if he's not real? Right.
I think it was probably definitely out of innocence, which I don't know the creator of Slenderman, but from what it looks like, it was probably out of innocence. Like, hey, I'm doing this contest. And then, like, it snowballed into, like, these people are, like, convinced he's real so much that they're having sicknesses or they're doing bad things for him. And, like, I definitely think it was just an innocent, you know, contest, and then it snowballed and people do what they did and it escalated to something that it wasn't desired to be escalated to.
Right. And, you know, I have always said that the mind is a pretty powerful thing.
Like, absolutely.
It's really powerful. I mean, there are some people out there who can believe in something so hard. And one example is, I remember that there was this woman who believed so hard that she was pregnant, her body forced itself into a false pregnancy.
Absolutely. Like, I think that you can create and believe in whatever you want, but as soon as you take it, that step too far, that like dangerous things can happen and crazy things can happen. Like, our mind is more powerful than I think anybody realizes.
Right. So, and with the fact that this can lead into dangerous things, we have the Slenderman stabbings, which is a really unfortunate event. Luckily, nobody died, but it was really scary, especially for especially because they were children. Like, I at 12 and 13 years old, I never woke up and was like, I'm gonna go stab and sacrifice a motherfucker today. Like, what?
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and go into full detail with that. So, I tried to get background on the girls who did the stabbing. However, there's not a whole lot of, like, they obviously don't have a biography or anything. I mean, they're only 12.
Yeah, they were children.
Yeah. So
that's insane to think about.
Right. So one of the main girls in the Slenderman stabbings, her name was Morgan Geyser, and she was born May 16th, 2002. That shit hurts my feelings. Just FYI.
That's a year younger than me.
I am a 97 baby, okay? And it baffles me.
I'm an 01 baby.
That hurts my feelings. It baffles me that there are people born outside of the 90s, okay? Anyways. Morgan Geyser.
Knowing what I know.
Knowing what you know.
Sorry.
Knowing
what I know about this cases and, like, the age difference, like, is not large between me and these girls, like, because, like, where they were at age 12 is the same place I was at 12, because we are that same age, basically. It's insane to think about, like, putting myself mentally where I was at 12, but at 12, I didn't have internet access, really. My mom was more strict about internet, so I never really learned about these things till I was 13, 14, 15, But it's insane to think about how two different places you can be at that age.
Right, and I also think that the age factor does play a part in this, because I remember that when I was younger, I had full internet access, but the internet wasn't a huge part of my childhood. That being said, and then, like, I really think that people who were born in the 2000s, they have a more vivid memory of better internet access.
Right.
Easier to get. And, like, they were born and raised on the internet, basically.
Yeah. That's why my mom did what she did. It was very more strict on our internet access, is because she didn't want us to be, the generation that was glued to their phones and stuff. So, like, we definitely played outside. We, played with dolls and blocks and stuff. Like, we weren't, we were born in the 2000s, me and my sibling, but we weren't the generation, or we weren't having kids that were on our phone, because our mother was more strict about it, which I'm thankful for.
Right. That being said, let's get back into it. I'm going to say this for, like, the third time. It's fine. We just get a little bit distracted. So Morgan Geyser was born May 16th of 2002. And, her mother said that she lacked empathy from a really young age. So they said one of the sure signs of her lack of empathy that they saw was when they showed her the movie Bambi. Her mom was so sure that she was going to be so upset after watching it, but she didn't really show any emotion when Bambi's mom got shot. All she said was, "Run, Bambi, run. Get out of there and save yourself." So that's all she said. She didn't really have any emotion behind that. But other than that, she gave no signs or symptoms of violent tendency. Her mom was like, other than that, like, she was just a kid.
Right.
And I don't know how old she was when she watched Bambi, but, it could be possible that she didn't quite understand what was happening.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, pretty normal. By the way, this all happened in Waukesha County, Wisconsin. So, setting, Wisconsin.
Right, Wisconsin.
Yeah, she was a quiet child, so she didn't really have any friends up until the 4th grade, where she met her friend Peyton Lutner. So Peyton saw that Morgan was sitting by herself, so she decided to, be the nice person and go ahead and sit next to her and make friends with her. Well, they hit it off really well, so they became best friends after that, ever since the 4th grade. And Peyton and Morgan were two peas in a pod. Morgan even said during her interview that Peyton was her only friend for a really long time. They did a lot of things together. I mean, and then Peyton, was like, yeah, she was quiet, but like once you got to know her, she kind of opened up and she was really funny.
Right.
Well, when you make friends in the 4th grade, your friendships kind of waver because you're growing up and you're growing into different people. So it was always Peyton and Morgan up until the 6th grade. Now, in the 6th grade, they met a girl named Anissa Ware. Anissa Ware was their classmate. She had been there, just, you know how, like, you sit in class and you're like, there's that one kid that I don't really talk to. I know her name, but, well, they basically met Anissa in class, and Anissa and Morgan became really, really good friends, almost like how Peyton and Morgan were friends. So Anissa and Morgan started getting super close. Peyton probably felt a little bit left out of the trio, but she was like, it is what it is. Like, she has another friend. That's cool. They really started to get into creepypastas and internet memes and lores, which I would not think was weird at all. Right. I wouldn't get any red flags from that. Now, Peyton, she wasn't really into that stuff. She didn't like Slenderman. She didn't like creepypastas because she thought it was really scary, and she told Morgan that. But Morgan just kind of brushed it off. Right. And Peyton actually didn't like Anissa at all. She didn't really get along with her. She thought that Peyton could be pretty cruel and jealous. So, I've been in a trio of friends before, and a trio does not work.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
No, especially at that age, you're growing up so much. You're like at a very weird, vulnerable age. Like, it's hard to keep friends, especially when there's three and there's always going to be one person that feels that, left out.
Right. Especially because, like, Morgan and Anissa were getting along so well, and they shared this common interest that they were really passionate about, really into, and Peyton wasn't a part of that. So, I would imagine she felt a little left out, and I think maybe, her referring to Anissa as jealous is when Peyton and Morgan would get along, and Anissa would probably get jealous and say something, like, that's just how it is between little girls.
Absolutely.
And their friendships. But, Peyton decided to stay friends because she didn't want to lose Morgan. Morgan was important to her. And they had spent the past 2 years getting closer and closer. Well, little did she know that Morgan I don't know what was going on in her head, but during all that time, Anissa and Morgan were planning on killing her. So
that is insane.
Right. Yeah. We'll get into that. So Morgan and Anissa had their own form of language or communication or whatever, but basically they had secret code words to talk about how they wanted to kill her. in public. So when they were around her, they would use code words like cracker. I don't know what the term cracker was used for. I tried to figure it out. I got no information unless it was referred to Peyton, which is a little bit rude.
Yeah.
But also, stabbing your friend is very rude. Anyways, they would use the word itch to refer to killing. So that's how they got away with talking about it, I guess. When they were all together, they would kind of whisper that. And because they were using code words, Peyton didn't catch on. So
wow.
They planned to kill Peyton on May the 30th, 2014, during a slumber party to celebrate Morgan's 12th birthday. So they were like 11 when they were planning this.
Wow. That is so young.
Right. You know, growing up, my mom always told me to be careful with who I was hanging out with. And in my mind, for the longest time, people my age, kids my age, I just thought would not, like, they might bully me. We might get into a fight. I might beat their asses. Was I kind of a bully on the playground? Only if you deserved it. Just putting that out there. Anyways, in my mind, a child my age would never try to murder me, kidnap me, but no. I guess I was just naive because they definitely will.
Yeah, I have a little cousin who is 11, and I cannot imagine them planning out such a devious act, especially going as far as to make code words to talk about murder in front of the person that they're wanting to murder. Like, I can't imagine my little cousin, like, thinking of this in their mind. Like, that's insane. Like, I think of them as so young and innocent.
Right, and let me just say, that is some bold-ass shit right there. So, to celebrate Morgan's birthday, they played the slumber party. You know, Peyton didn't think it was weird. She has gone to dozens of slumber parties at Morgan's house before. Their parents knew each other. It was all good, or so they thought. So on the 30th, they decided that, you know, they're going to go to the skating rink and celebrate and have fun, which is also strange to me that you want to hang out and have a good time with the person you're going to stab, but, you know, onward. When they got home that night after the skating rink, Peyton thought it was a little bit weird that Anissa and Morgan wanted to go to bed early. And this was because Morgan and Anissa were talking about staying up all night and having fun and, you know, maybe talking about boys, internet memes, all that, whatever. And, you know, Peyton was like, hey, like, we never really, whenever there was a slumber party, we never really went to bed early. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, the reason behind that was that Morgan and Anissa were planning on actually stabbing Peyton in her sleep. Now, they ended up not doing that because they were too tired after skating. They just, when they went to bed early, they honestly just went to sleep.
Wow.
Like, I guess they were going, like, really hard at the skating rink, which, like, I'm gonna be honest, I used to do it a lot. It does make you really, really tired.
Yeah.
But they just decided not to do that. But when they woke up that morning, they told Morgan's mom that, hey, we're going to go to the park and, like, we're going to hang out. We're going to play. We're going to go play hide and seek, whatever. It was Morgan's birthday, so her mom was like, yeah, go ahead. The park was, like, right next to their house. And again, like, I'm thinking from her mother's perspective, it's not anything out of the ordinary. Right, so they get to the playground and they're hanging out, you know, trying to keep it casual. And they're like, hey, you know, let's go to the bathroom. Like, I have to pee. Well, while they were in the bathroom, they tried to kill Peyton. So, right. What had happened was Morgan had took Peyton and slammed her against the wall, trying to slam her head against the concrete wall and knock her out. Well, that didn't work, and Peyton was really upset, which I can understand why. You know,
wow, that's very confusing.
Pushed me into a wall. Pretty pissed off about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, they got into a little bit of an argument after that, but I guess they calmed each other down. I don't know what they told her to get her to continue to hang out with them that day, but
right.
They basically convinced Peyton, like, hey, I'm sorry, it was an accident. Let's just go out in the woods and play hide and go seek. You know, like, let's go have fun. I didn't mean to do that. Totally an accident, whatever. And Peyton, you know, I feel for Peyton because I feel like she's trying to see through Morgan's faults right now because they've been friends for so long and she just wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, you know.
And you don't want to lose the friend that you've been friends with for a really long time. Like you're gonna try to stay friends with them no matter what.
Right. And I just think, like, you know, Peyton is just in this story narrative. Peyton is just, you know, she's just a sweet girl who wanted to stay with her friend, even though she felt like Anissa wasn't quite that good of a friend. But Morgan meant more to her than like not getting along with Anissa. So after the bathroom incident, they did go out into the woods where they're like, let's play hide and seek. So Anissa, what she does is like she kind of like, you know, hints at Peyton like, hey, you'd probably win this game of hide and seek if you covered yourself up with leaves and sticks. Like, lay on the ground, cover yourself up with leaves and sticks. No one will find you. Like, you're going to be pretty camouflaged. Okay, so Peyton, she lays down and does that, not thinking anything of it. She was just like, cool, I'm going to win this game of hide and seek.
Yeah. That was a big deal when you were that age.
Right. So she does that, and unfortunately, that was when Anissa and Morgan took that opportunity to stab her. So they stabbed her torso, her arms, her legs. They hit vital organs and barely missed Peyton's heart.
This poor girl.
They stabbed her 19 times. So this wasn't I'm going to stab you. Oh shit, I regret this. Now I'm scared. This was they were really intending to kill her kind of stab.
Yes, 100%.
And Morgan, in her interview, even said she remembered Peyton yelling at her. And the first stab, Peyton looked at her and was like, I trusted you.
Mm-hmm. The amount of betrayal and distrust this girl has now probably is insane. Very sad.
Right. You know, I mean, God, like that. Don't even mention like the physical damage. Like I get that, but that emotional damage and trauma, like that is awful.
Mm-hmm. That is, and such a big burden to carry at such like a young age. Like she's still a baby, and like, you know, to learn how evil people are at such a small age is just tragic.
Exactly. So, you know, even though Peyton said that, Morgan and Nissa kept stabbing her another 18 times. And, you know, Morgan said that she remembered Peyton saying, I trusted you. And then it slowly turned into, I hate you, which reasonable for the fact that she was being stabbed.
Yes.
So in Anissa's interview, she said that she had told Peyton to lay down because you're going to lose a lot of blood. She was like, lay down here. You're going to lose a lot of blood. Morgan and I will go run and get help. They, in fact, did not get help. They straight up left her ass there to die in the woods. They got up and then they just left. They never got help. They didn't tell anybody. They just left her there.
How demented at such a young age. Like, that is sickening.
Right. So,
to have them...
Yeah. So, of course, like, Peyton obviously knew that was bullshit. So she used the last of her strength to pull herself back up. She said that she used tree branches and trees to lean on to kind of stumble, walk, crawl to the closest patch of grass that she could, the softest patch of grass next to a hiking trail. she got herself there where she just laid down and collapsed.
Oh, this
poor baby dragged herself through the woods to try to save herself. Luckily,
the amount of strength that takes is insane. Like, kudos to her. She is strong.
Yeah, absolutely. They stabbed her in the chest and barely missed her heart. Like that.
19 times.
That takes a lot of strength.
Wow.
But luckily, a cyclist was, cycling by and was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
He saw Peyton and called 911, and they got her to the hospital. It took them 6 hours to do a life-saving surgery to save Peyton's life. Wow. 6 hours. And during that...
Thank God for that cyclist.
Kudos, yeah. During that time, Morgan and Anissa, like, they were on the run. Or, like, on the run as much as 11-year-olds could do. So the police obviously were looking for them. I'm assuming they found Peyton, Morgan's mom. Like, there was probably a whole communication between that, and the parents were like, we need to find Morgan and Peyton, probably thinking that they were going to be hurt, not realizing that it was those two kids that did that to Peyton. So
that would not be my first thought as a mom. It's like, hey, I would be like, hey, find my kids. Like, they were with her. They were probably hurt. Maybe he kidnapped them, or like somebody has gotten them. Not like my kids were the one that did this to another girl.
Right. Like, that would be so baffling to me.
That'd be hard.
So the police found Morgan and Peyton walking along the I-95 highway, and they took them into custody to the jail, or they take them to the jailhouse at first. I don't know. I have not been arrested, if you can't tell.
Yeah, I've never been arrested.
I don't know how it works, but they took them into custody, and that is where they just confessed and owned up to it, dude. Like, they looked at the police officer and was like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, like, we were trying to kill her. Morgan straight up looked at the officer and, with no concern or empathy, was like, is she dead? And then she was like, I might as well just say it like we did it. We were trying to kill her. So, the police officers were like, yo, what the hell? Like,
I think they were baffled.
Had no empathy at all. It seemed like she never even cared for her Peyton one little bit. She felt nothing. She felt nothing at all. Now, Anissa's confession was a little bit different. She emphasized that it was all Morgan's idea, and also emphasized the fact that she, was trying to help Peyton by telling her to lay down. I mean, still left her there, but she was like, I was trying to tell her to lay down so she wouldn't lose blood. Maybe she'd have a chance, but...
Not to mention, wasn't Anissa the one that told her to hide under the leaves and stuff? Like,
I mean, yeah.
She initiated
I couldn't find a whole lot of information on the relationship between Morgan and Anissa. No one really knows what happens there. I'm not sure if she said something to where she just believed in everything she said, if she threatened some, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to say, like, little middle school girls, like, they keep their secrets, my dude.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she emphasized that it was all Morgan's idea. So when the police went to go investigate in Morgan's room, they found a lot of drawings, a lot of Slenderman drawings. To me, a lot of them weren't out of the ordinary. There are a lot of pieces of paper that had, like, the Slenderman symbols, all the 8 pages of the Slenderman game notes, like, But one of the most shocking things that they found was it was a list, a handwritten list of what they needed to kill Peyton. With the word.
To have the mental capacity at age 11 to invite your friend to a sleepover, like, plan this out, like, to a T of, like, how you're going to do it, and then have no remorse for it is terrifying.
Absolutely. And, like, I mean, like, not that this is a big fact for a lot of other people, but it kind of hit me really hard when I was reading the list. It said items necessary, and the handwriting was obviously a child's handwriting. The word necessary was spelled absolutely wrong.
Right.
Which is like, I don't understand how, it just didn't make sense to me, you know? Like, it.
No, that's just so
right.
scary.
And they also found a bunch of mutilated Barbie dolls. So Barbie dolls that had, like, supposed stitches and cuts on their torso, Slenderman symbols written all over their bodies, and, like, their eyes crossed out. Well, when they interviewed Morgan, they said that they had to kill Peyton because they were afraid that Slenderman was going to kill their families if they didn't do it. They wanted to become Slenderman's proxies, and proxies means, like, puppets or, like, people that do the bidding of Slenderman. So,
right.
So I wasn't really convinced that they were scared that Slenderman was going to kill their family. I don't know. There's nothing convincing about that to me. It's like, if I don't kill Peyton, he's gonna kill my family. And I was like, but you wanted to become his proxy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like, you voluntarily did his bidding. Like, that's so crazy.
Right. And another thing that they found in Peyton's room on the computer was Google searches, such as how to get away with murder and what kind of insane am I? I know. Like, that's pretty, like, they always look for the Google searches. Like, you just click on the bar and like the last thing you search pops up. I think even if you delete your browser history. So, both the girls were charged with attempted first-degree intentional homicide. The two girls were tried as adults.
Oh, wow. That is surprising.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. But again, like, this wasn't a child's crime. This wasn't a little misdemeanor or anything. Like, they really tried to kill someone, and they planned it out.
19 times.
Exactly.
Most adults don't even stab people 19 times. Like, in most stabbings, it's not 19 times. Like, for a child to do it 19 times, like, they had adult faults to do this.
Exactly.
You know?
So, Anissa got the lesser charge and was found not guilty by reason of mental illness. She was sentenced to 25 years in a mental institution. And then,
wow.
Yeah, so they just gave her a lesser charge. I guess because she was just like the right-hand man to Morgan. Morgan's sentencing went a little bit differently. It was a little bit more harsher. So Morgan pleaded guilty as well. Like, Anissa also pleaded guilty, by the way, and she got a lesser charge. Morgan pleaded guilty and did not get a lesser charge. She was originally found not guilty by reason of mental defect, but I'm not sure what her and her attorney talked about for her to be like, I am guilty, and not take the I'm not guilty due to mental defect. But she was sentenced to 40 years in Winnebago Mental Health Institution. So 40 years is a lot of time.
Wow.
A lot of time. So those are the sentencings. One of the things that I wanted to mention was I feel like a pretty vital piece of information that I remember not really being... It wasn't really mentioned in the news outline. It was like, look what these two little girls did. And they kind of painted them to be evil. Well, while Morgan was in custody, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. So...
yeah, there's a deep underlying mental illness with this child. Like,
absolutely. But the even crazier fact was that her father was diagnosed and suffered from schizophrenia as well.
You would think that knowing that her father was diagnosed, that the parents would have had her, like, yearly evaluations or something too.
I guess they didn't think about it because she didn't show her signs. I mean, like, I even said, like, when she watched Bambi and they said that she showed no emotion, like, it was possible that she didn't understand, like, it is very hard
Right.
to diagnose schizophrenia and catch the early signs of
Right.
it. Yeah,
Especially
in children. So, and schizophrenia usually appears in adults in their mid 20s to late 30s. So it is very rare for a child to have it. Now, Morgan, you know, she was hearing voices all up until the trial. So she said she could telepathically communicate with these characters. She was talking to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. She was talking to Harry Potter. Like, she straight up has schizophrenia. And, you know, they don't really have a reason why you get it. So it does seem to be passed down genetically in the DNA, but they're unsure what genes cause schizophrenia, or rather if it's a combination of genes. But there are 5 main reasons that they say people get schizophrenia. And a lot of them have to do with like just changes in your life. So schizophrenia, you can get it from genetics, you can get it from stress, you can get it from trauma. You can get it from drug use, and then number 5 was pregnancy or birth complications. So these are very broad.
Wow.
They're very broad, and like some of these things that like they listed as symptoms and behaviors are still very difficult to diagnose in children. I mean, like, children have imaginary friends all the time, and like a bizarre behavior for a child doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them. They're just being a kid and being weird.
Right. You know, you think about our imaginary kids as a child. My mom had an elephant as imaginary friend as a child, you know, and you think about, you want to feel sorry for Morgan too, because she was dealing with a very severe mental illness. And then you also feel really bad for Peyton and her family because she suffered a tragic accident, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, some of the things that they list for the symptoms are problems with thinking and reasoning, which, again, is hard in a child because when I was 13, I thought I was going to marry Taylor Lautner, okay?
Yeah, me too. You know, you don't have that good sense of reasoning at all.
Exactly. Like, I thought I was going to marry Taylor Lautner. I thought if I didn't marry Taylor Lautner, then I would get with Markiplier. I called him Daddy Plier back then, which I realized was extremely fucking creepy.
No.
I was learning from the internet, and I did not learn good things.
Yeah, like, you know, you also want to ask the question, like, if the internet wasn't a vital part in this, would she still have done what she did?
You know, I think so. I think,
like, and obviously you can't answer.
Right. So another thing that they mentioned was bizarre ideas, confusing dreams, or television for reality, which kids do that all the time. Like, it's so hard.
Again, at 13, I was playing vampire every day because of Twilight. So
right, and then behavior says withdrawal from friends and family, trouble sleeping, lack of motivation, violent or aggressive behavior, or bizarre behavior, which, in my opinion, sounds like a teenager. Just a teenager.
Sounds like puberty. You know, at 13, 12, whatever, you have all these hormones and all these emotions, and you're angry. Like, I was the angriest teenager I can think of. You know, it's just such broad, like, teenage things.
Exactly. And, like, you know, I know that the girls did this really bad thing. I know that they did, but at the same time, I do feel really bad for them because they... And I mean, like, they were suffering from a mental illness that no one could see the signs, not even them. Like,
right.
It's so hard to diagnose a mental illness in a child. Like, going to therapy and looking back at, like, the things that I did, I realized that, like, yeah, I showed sure signs of having mental problems as a child, but I couldn't blame my parents because, like, it's just, like, you know, what if I was just being a brat that day?
Like you being a teenager. Yeah. And you really hope that these girls are getting the help that they need in the mental facility. Like, I hope that it's actually doing them some good. Like, I hope that they're getting what they need.
Right. And because of this whole incident and trial, Slenderman kind of decreased in popularity. I know that they released a movie in 2016 and not many people watched it. Some people were afraid.
I didn't know they were this.
Yeah. I might go and watch it today just to be curious, but like I think some people were afraid that if they watched it, that the same thing might happen to them and they would fall to the same insanity that Morgan and Anissa did. That being said, going back to the topic of Tulpa and, imagining Slenderman into reality. When I delved into the topic of Tulpa, I tried to find the correlation between tulpamancy and mental health, and basically what it came down to was tulpas, people who make tulpas and are tulpamancers, having tulpas, whatever, is not a cause of mental illness. It doesn't cause mental illness. People who do tulpamancy are able to tell the difference between what they've made up and reality. Now, vice versa, are people is having a tulpa a sign of mental illness? Technically, yes. Because in your head, if you have schizophrenia and you make up this character, right? It feels like a living, breathing thing right next to you, just like how tulpamancers describe it, and it has its own thoughts and things, and can't be controlled. Like, technically, yes, having a tulpa and hearing voices and talking to something that is not there is signs of a mental illness. Now, what is interesting is that many of the people who do have tulpas were already suffering from a mental illness before they got into tulpamancy and tulpa.
That's interesting.
It is very interesting. So, when it comes down to it, I really don't think that Slenderman and the whole idea of him, I don't think that is what is causing people to think that he's real. I really think, again, that the mind is a powerful thing and it can trick you. It can really trick you into believing in these things. And he's just an internet lore that people enjoy, because people enjoy stories. So
absolutely.
I don't think he's real, and if he's real, he's hiding from y'all. Again, some of y'all need Jesus. He saw what you did. Okay, he saw what you drew. He read what I read.
Yeah.
All right, scared. He's hiding. I would also hide. Slendy, my boy, you better run and run far, okay? If he came into existence, he was like, I need to note myself out of this fucking reality right now. But I did tell you, so this is recent news. So Anissa actually, she got out. So she got out of the mental institution. So she was able to be released in 2021 on the condition that she lived with her dad. She received psychiatric treatment, outpatient. She has a GPS monitor on her, and she has limited internet access.
That's a good thing.
I think is very strange is Anissa wasn't. I didn't see that Anissa was diagnosed with anything. Because Morgan for sure had schizophrenia, but they never said anything about Anissa, and it might be because those files are confidential. You don't want to step on HIPAA laws, but I'm just really curious as to if she was diagnosed with schizophrenia as well.
Right. And if she didn't have any mental illness, which would be very strange under the circumstances of what she did, you think if she didn't have mental illness, then this mental facility did nothing for her.
Yeah, I mean,
there was.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
I mean, I did read her letter, and she was like, if I am to become a productive member of society, I need to be in that society and learn how to do things and be, a person, which if you're left away at the age of 13, like, there's no experiencing life and growing up. So, like, I get that. I very much get that. So I'm wondering if, she didn't realize that Morgan had schizophrenia, and Morgan had really convinced her that Slenderman was going to come and kill her.
Yeah, and you're very impressionable at that age. I remember probably around this age, my older cousin and her friend told me about Bloody Mary, and I was fully convinced that hoe was real until I am still scared.
Oh, yeah. It's ingrained in me. I will not.
Like, you believe it. Yes. Like, it's terrifying. And, at that age, I was 110% convinced that if I did those steps that they told me to do, that she was coming to get me. Like, I fully believed that. So at that age, I was so impressionable that, I believed it. So I can see, if Morgan did convince her that this was real, how she believed it. You're young. You believe a lot.
Right. And then, so because Anissa had a successful release, Morgan also did try to get a conditional release as well the summer of 2022. So this past year. This past summer.
Oh, wow. Very recent. Yep.
Yes. So she did, request that. The judge said, like, hey, let's look at some more medical records before, I approve it. Well, her and her attorney got the medical records in August, and her attorney wrote to the judge and said, no, do not release her. It is in her best interest to stay in. If she continues to make good progress, it may be up for debate again. But he withdrew her request, her attorney, because I don't know if she was doing well.
Is definitely very sick to have her own attorney be like, hey, let's give her some more time.
Right. So she was not released.
Wow. I hope she gets the care
so too. She remains in the mental health institution now. Peyton is actually doing very well. She is living her best life and actually heading to college. So hopefully, she does really well. Kudos to Peyton. College is very hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
absolutely.
It's worth it. Like, I'm glad that she was able to take the step over this and thrive. I hope she's doing well mentally and emotionally, and she got that she needed as well.
So that is the story of Slenderman and the Slenderman Stabbings. Did you have any final thoughts?
It's terrifying. Be careful what you search on the internet, and take it with a grain of salt. Even at our age, I feel like it's easy to see stuff on the internet and be like, oh my God. But you have to take it with a grain of salt, and you have to make your own decisions, and you have to use your own brain and thought process, and limit your internet time. Like, I feel like social media and internet has really had a toll on our generation, our society. And I feel like it's nice to take a step back and just live in real time and not what you see on the internet, because it's not what it seems. It's all fake.
Right. And then question to our viewers. So what do you think? Is Slenderman real? And what about other creepypastas? Let us know what you think down in the comments.
Yes.
And let us know what is going on with you. If you guys have any stories of anything, any folklore, anything near you that you want to share, you can definitely email us at mysteriesatfishcoffeeshop@gmail.com. We love to hear from you guys. And then, Courtney, do you have any final things to say?
We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. We'd love to hear you on all of them or some of them, whatever you have. And we have enjoyed making these, and we hope to get out more awesome content. And you have any suggestions on what we should do for next few episodes or in the future episodes, please let us know. We'd love to hear what you want to hear.
So our next episode, our lovely Courtney will be presenting us with another true crime. And then after that, I will be presenting you guys with some more cryptids and folklore. So stay tuned and keep in touch. Bye.
Bye.